Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
You're Conrad Thompson.
I am indeed, and I'm excited to be with you today. And we're actually looking at each other for the first time in quite a while, and you've got the Doc Brown hair going on. I need you to look at me and just yell 1.21 gigawatts.
What?
Come on, Doc Brown, Back to the Future. It's like, you know, one of America's favorite movies.
We're going to the future, Marty.
Okay.
Like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I'm really excited.
21 gigawatts. I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Well, it's what the flux capacitor never mind. So listen, we're excited to be here.
The flux capacitor goes like this, and oh shit, but they can't see us doing this, giving like Star Trek signs to each other.
I thought you were doing a diamond cutter. You were about to start doing some stretches.
No, I'm doing like some kind of gang sign.
Oh, you haven't been in a lot of gangs, I can tell.
Okay. Don't get hot.
That's a good thing. Listen, let's talk about why we're here. I'm so excited to cover this show. It's No Mercy 2005. This is the 15th anniversary of that event, and it's more significant than we even realized at the time. Ironically, this is Eddie Guerrero's birthday and his very last pay-per-view before his untimely death. And Bruce, when I reminded you what we were covering this morning, you said, "Oh," and you had a visceral response when I said, "Is that because it's Eddie's last?" And you quickly said, "And it was his birthday." It's just hard to believe. It's been 15 years, right?
Fuck yeah, it has, man. It's, what a loss. And when you think it's been that long, because in many, many ways, it feels like it was just yesterday. This day, this night, it's one of those, so many things happened during this event and around it that it's forever etched in my mind.
It's pretty unbelievable to think that he's on the poster. It's his birthday. It's in Houston, and it's his last pay-per-view. Of course, the show is not technically about Eddie Guerrero, but certainly we're going to cover some stuff with Eddie. But don't worry, we're finally telling the Eddie Guerrero story next month. I can't believe this is real, but it's been 15 years since we lost Eddie. And we're going to cover that show on Friday, November 13th, the anniversary of his passing. But today it's all about No Mercy 2005. It's the 8th event held under the name No Mercy. As we said, October 9th, 2005 at the Toyota Center there in Houston, Texas. Chat me up about the Toyota Center. Houston is, of course, your home base for most of your life. What'd you think of the Toyota Center as a wrestling venue?
It's a terrific venue. It was for Houston and the nostalgia of everything. When you look at the different buildings, and right now looking at all Paul Bosch's shit, I have found where Paul Bosch and Morris Siegel were so instrumental in building the Sam Houston Coliseum, which was the building that Houston Wrestling was held in every single Friday night. I've got all of the letters to city council and all these people back and forth about, hey, what building wouldn't want a tenant 50 weeks out of the year? That being Houston Wrestling. And that the town needed a new building. They needed something other than what was currently called the City Auditorium, and they were renovating the music hall. So Paul petitioned for the Sam Houston Coliseum. That was the building in Houston for many, many years. Then in the 70s, early mid 70s, they started to build the Summit, and the Summit was going to be the premier building for concerts, wrestling, for everything not in downtown Houston. It was actually kind of in Southwest Houston. Well, the Summit was the Summit, beautiful building. It was too expensive for Houston Wrestling. Paul continued to promote the Coliseum, and pretty much the Coliseum was the second tier building now and was the home of Houston Wrestling, the only place they had wrestling. WWE went into the Summit, and we continued in the Coliseum until Paul's very last card that he promoted there. And then we went on to the Summit with WWE. And then the fucking Toyota Center came along. And the Toyota Center was this gorgeous brand new building. And I just gave you a really extremely long-winded how to build watch answer to the Toyota Center was and still is a hell of a venue for wrestling because it's laid out perfectly.
No, we appreciate all the detail, Mr. Bischoff. As we said, this is Eddie Guerrero's birthday.
Can you read my lips?
I just got shown the middle finger, but he got the reference. We've got about 7,000 folks here at the show, but only an estimated 5,000 paid. I've always sort of thought that Houston was a big wrestling town. Why do you think attendance was so low here? I mean, 5,000 paid for a pay-per-view doesn't seem very WWE-esque in 2005.
Yeah, I don't know that that's completely true, but at the same time, it was a hell of a house, and I remember it being pretty damn good.
219,000 buys on pay-per-view, so that's not that bad. It's way up from the prior year, which was 193,000. This is back in the era where they released everything on DVD as well, and this would peak at number 4 on the Billboard DVD charts, so that's kind of cool. We should also mention that this is the pay-per-view debut for Mr. Kennedy and Bobby Lashley, both of whom who just recently debuted on TV to major pushes. And it's the last pay-per-view match for Christian before he leaves for his run in TNA. We've talked a little bit about this before, but were you shocked that Christian decided to take his talents to Tennessee?
Not shocked, but disappointed more than anything, because I originally was the one that had signed Christian, and I thought that he was a hell of a talent, enjoyed working with him a great deal. So it wasn't shocked, because I knew that he felt a little underutilized and that he felt he needed to go somewhere else to maybe to get noticed, if you will. But disappointed is more the word. Kind of like, Dad, when he would say, I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed.
That's the worst. No son wants to hear that.
He never went to.
Yeah, I don't think that was his speed. Let's talk about
God
this.
Damn it, Bruce. Oh, sorry.
The
It's gonna
show.
be one of them shows. I'm telling you that right now.
I could tell when I saw your Doc Brown hair.
Okay.
PlayStation 2 is the sponsor. The tagline is "Live in your world, play in ours" for this event. For context, PlayStation 5 coming out next month. Bruce, are you fired up about PlayStation 5? Has Kane talked your ear off about this yet?
Yay.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to mash buttons and us record it one day. It should be great.
Do you know the only video game that I have? Can you guess the only video game console me personally has ever owned and played with?
Atari or the original Nintendo, one of those.
Neither. Pong.
Well, that Pong was on Atari.
Was it? Well, the Mars was. I don't even think we had an Atari. I think we had like one of them fucking generic Pongs. That the only games on it were like you could make the paddle larger or smaller and shit. But that is the only video game that I ever had. Now my kids have had games. I actually played on the Wii, but Pong, the original Pong, and all it was a console with 2 knobs, and that was it.
First of all, you're very, very old, and thank you for sharing that story with us. Was this before or after you had seen color TV?
Well, we actually had it on the black and white TV.
Oh, there you go. So chat me up about Wii. I know that we're getting sidetracked here, but the image of Brother Love playing Wii bowling or Wii tennis fucking tickles me.
I never told you the Wii story?
No.
So my kids didn't even know this until just a short time ago. Wii was like the number one gift for Christmas one year and all this shit, and I had connections. So I got a Wii probably about 2 months before Christmas from the folks who ever do Wii. And I got it. I'm like, oh my God, look, I got a fucking Wii for the kids and all this shit. This is so cool. So my wife and I hooked it up and I started playing, and all it came with was Wii Sports. So we started playing the bowling and golf, and I got really good at golf. But I never played video games, and we would play this every single fucking day. And then when it was time for the kids to come home, we would pack it up in the box and hide it.
Oh my God.
So when Christmas comes and we hook it up, they're like, oh, hey, come on, Dad, let's go play this. Let's go do this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, how do you do this again? And then I'd smash them. The little fuckers, man, because I know that once I get into their shit, I'm dead.
Right.
I don't have a fucking clue, but I killed them at golf. I killed them at bowling. I killed them at tennis. I killed them at the fucking boxing shit. Fucking A.
I gotta ask, how old were they when this was happening? And more importantly, how old were you when this was happening?
Why is that important?
Well, it's just for context.
I don't know. They were like maybe 8 or 9.
I think the only thing that is funnier than that when we think about childhood stories is that old Brian story he told in New York when he was mocking Michael Hayes about Triple H and Stephanie's baby. That's stupid, baby.
Hey, stupid baby. You're just stupid baby. Stupid baby. Yeah.
But that stupid baby don't even know how to work a hold yet.
Hey, how much money did that baby ever draw?
Baby didn't draw shit. All right, let's get back to our, this is so fun. The open here of the show, I watched it for the first time, I guess, since it aired. And it starts with, yes, sir, we promised you a great main event here tonight, and the ending with the WWE logo and the statement, the power is back. And the open debuted on the Raw Homecoming episode where you guys were coming back to the USA Network. But many people believe that this is the best show open or signature open ever. It creates the hype that you're about to watch a badass event. And we got tons of comments on social media about it. Was this your favorite signature open, or do you have a favorite signature open?
My favorite signature open is the World Wrestling Federation, the symbol of excellence in sports entertainment. The original is still my favorite.
I like the old school flyover where it's going through, like, I don't know, some lakes and deserts or whatever. And then it pops up the logo. I don't know why.
I did that one. Yeah.
That was you?
Yeah.
So how did you get that footage? That was pre-drone footage. Drones weren't a thing back then.
It's called TV magic. It wasn't drone footage. That was all fucking animated.
I'll be damned.
Some bitch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There
You
was
learn something new every day.
I just thought, man, I'd love to see Bruce like, hey, boss, can we get a helicopter?
I did that at SummerSlam 88. Got a helicopter the night before. If you watch that shit from SummerSlam 88, the first SummerSlam, and you go in and look at the footage, that is some of the shakiest, shittiest footage you ever saw. But to us, it was cool as fuck because we were able to get a helicopter the night before, fly over the city and fly over the garden.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember the shaky footage. You could even see like parts of the helicopter in the frame. And I was like, boy, back in the day, this shot cost 15 grand to get. And now it's like $300 and a dude with a fucking remote control.
And a million times better.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That was literally a dude strapped into the helicopter, like leaning out with the camera, holding it with no steadying anything.
Well, let's talk about the other thing that becomes a bit of a tradition is we show Freddie Blassie in all the opens, and he's still in the open to this very day. That sounds like a Vince McMahon edict. Is that right?
Well, I think Freddie is a cornerstone of the entire wrestling business when you look at it. So yeah, I think some of those old timers that will be forever legendary, without doubt, are going to be in it.
The original theme song for the event is Save Me by Shinedown. As we mentioned, Eddie Guerrero is on the poster here. He's looking fatigued, and you can sort of see the No Mercy tribal logo tattooed on his shoulder. And it really fits the main event. It's Eddie Guerrero and Batista here. On the network, the theme song has been changed to Jim Johnston's No Mercy. We've already hit you with some random news and notes as we head into this show. Let's talk about what's really happening though, that everybody's talking about.
You forgot though, the best part was listening to Jim Ross when he would have to do the credit. We'd like to thank that's our theme song right now. Save Me by Shinedown. Sassafras. What the fuck? Shinedown.
Did y'all ever think about having Ricky Skaggs do a theme song for y'all?
That would have been hot.
The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior was released on September 27th, 2005. Gosh, I remember this like it was yesterday. As a Warrior fan, I was so excited to see it. And then I realized very quickly, oh, this isn't exactly what I thought. And the feud between the WWE and the Ultimate Warrior is probably at its peak here. They even had a Warrior impersonator on the WWE.com web show Bite This. Of course, it's actually Matt Stryker. And the segment involves the impersonator reading a legitimate letter from the Warrior to Vince McMahon. There's going to be jokes thrown around here about steroids and sexuality and a lot more involved here. And eventually everyone has to make a bunch of public apologies, and the entire segment is edited off of the replay. What do you remember about Bite This? And sometimes when the guys maybe would get a little too far out there and have to rein it back in.
I remember Bite This is a program. I don't think that I ever watched an entire Bite This in my life. So to say that I can remember what the hell they did on there, I don't. And so, yeah, I honestly have no idea as far as what the hell they would do. Sometimes the folks that were producing and doing things on the interweb would go into business for themselves.
Right.
Because for the most part, they thought that no one was watching. In reality, the interweb goes everywhere and it's forever. So yeah, I really don't know, but not right.
Chat me up about the Ultimate Warrior DVD. I know we've talked about it a little bit in the archives over at somethingwrestle.com, but I do want to ask, overall, in hindsight, was this a mistake to do the Self-Destruction of Ultimate Warrior DVD? I mean, do you wish you had that one back?
You never say never in this business. So when you look at things like that a lot of times are done almost in a knee-jerk reaction. And this was not done in a knee-jerk reaction. This was discussed because so many times, I don't know that there was a more polarizing person than Jim Hellwig and the Ultimate Warrior, that you had to, I think, public perception, and with all the lawsuits and everything that were going on, that it lent itself to something like that. And what I mean by that is that you have, to answer your question, would I want to take it back? Yeah,
Right.
probably so. Because again, perception in your presentation of a character and what you have worldwide for so long, it becomes, well, wait a minute. You told us way back here that this was this great, great guy, and he was the Ultimate Warrior, and he was this, and now you're telling us that he wasn't that good. And it wasn't the Ultimate Warrior that was really being deconstructed. It was Jim Hellwig.
Right.
And so that's who people were talking about as far as doing business with him and things of that nature. So yeah, I don't think that, hindsight being 2020, when you look at it in 2020, that was the best thing to do. But it was done. It was put out there, and it was put out there as a kind of a public service announcement more than anything, I guess, to say, okay, well, here's the guy that we presented, but here's the guy that he was. We're an entertainment company, and we create characters, and we portray the characters in a certain way. So I think that it's best to portray them in the most positive way that you can. If I had it to do all over again, and I wasn't a part of it as far as that decision, but I think if we had it to do all over again, that maybe not do that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, listen, I understand how you got to that decision, but I do think with the benefit of hindsight, maybe let that one go.
Yeah, I just unnecessary.
A new Monday Night War is being reported on in the dirt sheets at the time, but it's now between WWE on the USA Network once again and the UFC on Spike TV. Now, as a reminder, once upon a time, Raw served as a tremendous lead in for the UFC's product, The Ultimate Fighter. And The Ultimate Fighter really pulled the nose up for the UFC. They had been hemorrhaging cash, and at one time were even considering selling the property. But the success of the show pops them a big buy rate, and now they're off to the races, and they're going to be profitable really for the first time since the purchase. And once the WWE is now looking at greener pastures, Spike is going to try to litigate it to keep you guys from going to USA Network. Ultimately, they're unsuccessful in that effort. So you guys are back on USA, and it feels like Spike is doing everything they can to counter program you. Eventually, they're even going to get in bed with TNA and have their own wrestling. Chat me up a little bit about this. Was Vince at all concerned or nervous that he now had a new frenemy in Spike TV, and perhaps what he helped build with a great lead in is now going to be competing with him head to head?
No, I don't think so. And they're two different audiences, and I think that there was not really much concern there. So maybe Spike thought differently. And I know that Spike was maybe regretting a little bit, not fighting a little bit harder, but for Spike's purposes, I know that Spike kind of felt that, first of all, they wanted to buy the UFC, and they couldn't because UFC wasn't going to be able to, they just weren't going to, they weren't going to get it done. But I remember hearing from a Spike executive one time that their one wish was for the UFC to get to a point where Dana White could no longer fly private only. I just laughed at that. I thought that was funny. I said, you know what? He goes, the UFC is what it is. He goes, but I hope at some point that they get to the point of that Dana White has to fly commercial. I was like, okay. I don't know Dana. I think I've spoken to Dana one time in my life, and he was extremely gracious and a pretty nice guy to me. So I don't know Dana to comment one way or another.
Man, that's always been my experience with Dana. I met Dana in 2009 backstage at a UFC event. And then I think once in 2014, but then when I was trying to do the whole roaster Ric Flair, Dana was going to be one of the surprise roasters, and he could not have been cooler. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk about that for a minute though, because I am curious the relationship between Dana and Vince, because years ago, and it's probably been several years at this point, Dana was pretty open about, hey, we tried to pattern ourselves after WWE. You know, we looked at what Vince McMahon had done with World Wrestling Entertainment, and we borrowed a lot of their ideas. And you can certainly see that with their entire business model and the way they would sell pay-per-view. But for a long time, Vince McMahon was the undisputed king of pay-per-view. So if you're trying to compete in that space and you're going to have some sort of hand-to-hand combat, if you will, then yeah, he's the blueprint. But I just thought it was really cool of Dana to acknowledge that. Do you know what the relationship is like between Dana and Vince?
I think it was cordial. I think it was good. I don't think it was adversarial in any way. They've spoken over the years and have pretty much done business together. So
I only bring it up because this is around the same time that WWE was looking for a new play-by-play announcer. And a lot of the rumor and innuendo was that Vince wanted Mike Goldberg from the UFC. He was the lead commentator there. And he being Vince, pronouns pal, allegedly wanted Mike Goldberg to accept his offer and jump ship, which would include no showing a UFC event in the process. And I think, as the legend goes, Goldberg asked the Nevada State Athletic Commissioner, or the former rather, Mark Ratner, about this decision and opportunity. And Mark, I believe, was pals with Jim Ross and had his finger on the pulse of pro wrestling more than Mike Goldberg did, and said, that's probably not a good idea to be the guy who sits in his seat. Fans will absolutely hate it, whoever ultimately replaces him. And he winds up not taking the deal. It never pans out. Instead, Vince just has Linda kick Jim Ross in the balls on Raw and tells him he's fired. They fill in a couple of weeks with Coach, and then Joey Styles takes the job for the better part of the next year. What do you remember about the Mike Goldberg thing? Because that does feel like something that, I don't know, when you just said, well, they were pretty cordial, they got along. If you're trying to steal a guy out from under him and say, no, show his event, I don't know if that's necessarily an ally.
I love it when it's portrayed that they're trying to steal a guy from someone else.
Right.
It takes two to tango. And if the guy didn't want to be stolen, or maybe it's the guy reaching out saying, hey, is there any opportunity for me? Maybe I don't want to be where I am anymore. And more times than not, that's how it happens, is that the talent reaches out and says, hey, what is my opportunity over here? Is there anything available for me? But the media, if you will, portrays it as the big bad wolf goes out, I'm going to steal you from this other group. That's not how it happens. If Mike Goldberg didn't want to be, quote, stolen, which that's not how it happened, it would be a non-story and a non-issue. But so oftentimes it happens that talent wants to leave. Talent is either looking for a better deal where they are, so they reach out and try to see if there's anything else out there, or but it's not just like, oh my God, I want you, so I'm going to go steal you. If you don't want to be employed or you don't want to listen to somebody, you cut it off. And Goldberg didn't do that.
Right.
He was interested in coming in. So it wasn't, I think the portrayal of that sometimes is just unfair on all accounts for the most part. It takes two to tango. And So Mike Goldberg was looking for something else, and Mike Goldberg was looking for, I don't know, greener pastures or different pastures, if you will. And we were looking for fresh talent as well. The two come together and start talking. That's all it was.
Why don't you think he ultimately pulled the trigger on it? I mean, we know Mike Goldberg's not even with UFC now. I mean, he has moved on, but why don't you think
Well, who stole him?
I love you for that.
That's, well, I mean, obviously he has to be stolen, God damn it. What happened I think it was just more money. I think that when UFC heard that he was negotiating with WWE, that they came back in and offered more money.
Well, I'm glad it didn't happen, but I wish we would have gotten a little more JR, but I'm biased. I get that. Did you think in this era, and I know we're getting sidetracked here. I mean, he's trying to hire, he being Vince, pronouns pal. He's trying to hire Mike Goldberg. It doesn't work out. He's going to pivot to coach for a little bit. And then eventually Joey Styles takes the spot. Had Vince lost faith and confidence in Jim Ross? Did he just think it was time for a new look? Was he not happy with his work? Was their interpersonal relationship just becoming strained? Why do you think Vince was so adamant? We've got to do something different here. Damn it.
I think that Vince was just looking for new, and that he was looking for a different type, a different feel from the announcing standpoint. And JR, great at what he does. JR is a great play-by-play guy. But at the time, we were looking for something new and something different, just to freshen up the look. And, constantly, I remember from day one, from 1987, that constantly, Vince was looking to replace himself. He's like, God damn, I've been doing this too long. And the push was constantly, we've got to do something else. We've got to get new in here, and constantly trying to churn. So it wasn't something new that in 2005, Vince decided, oh my God, I need a new play-by-play guy. From the day I started, Vince was looking to replace himself and Gorilla with the new. He just constantly wanted to churn that position.
In September of 2005, the WWE is officially going to part ways with Mark Capone, who we know as Muhammad Hassan. We've covered this in long form, and he actually popped up a little bit last year. I don't guess we have to revisit the whole thing here, but it is worth asking. Is this one of those Ultimate Warrior type situations where we just referenced with the DVD where, wish we had that one back? Was it the whole character or just that one angle with the sensitivities of what happened in London with the terroristic bombings and things like that? I mean, the character had heat, and I guess we should argue, or maybe at least discuss some other time, perhaps, whether or not characters like that should exist, or maybe you have strong feelings right now.
I think that, look, it wasn't anything that Mark did or even that the character did. It was bad timing, and It was a very controversial character that in real life, something very similar with those characters happened in real life that was terrible. And to continue on, you could not continue on. And that was just an unfortunate incident where life imitated art, and you couldn't continue on in good taste. So the decision was made that we had to change something, and that changing of something was with Mark, and people identified him as this character and just thought that let's give it a rest for a while, and maybe down the road there may be something and a way to bring him back. But I also think that Mark's psyche was such that once he was done, that maybe there wasn't anything or any time to come back.
I want to ask, because I'm really genuinely curious. Do you think, I guess there's two schools of thought here, two different approaches. Do you think that WWE programming should be an escape from real life in just this fantasy land where you sort of immerse yourself in these silly over the top characters and stories? Or do you think that the product should be more reflective of what's really happening in the real world? Because we've seen a little bit of both. We've seen, Sergeant Slaughter becoming the Iraqi sympathizer. We've seen Muhammad Hassan. And I know we don't talk about current stuff, but a lot of people thought, man, these Retribution guys look kind of familiar. So some of the folks might think, well, I kind of like when they have an edge of realism and it feels like something that's topical, that's happening in our present society. But other folks really like the fantastical silliness of, well, none of this would ever really happen. And that's what makes it so fun. Do you think it should be an escape or sort of mirror real life?
I think it's a combination of both. And I think that sometimes an escape of fiction mirroring real life that people can identify with is it's what entertainment does. So you take a television show like 24, which was normally all about terrorists and what have you. A 24-hour day in the life of Jack Bauer. That's traditionally what entertainment has been since day one. World War I, World War II movies. They mirror real life and they make heels and baby faces all throughout the television shows. The fuck is that?
Well, it's in your house.
Yeah, I know. See, that's the kind of shit that happens around here. Shit just starts happening. But entertainment, that's what entertainment is. And that's what we try to do. But I think that for the most part, it's an escape. I think that when they tune in to our programming, I would like for them to be able to escape the real world shit going on.
Let's talk a little bit about, are you all right?
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Are you pressing buttons?
I did. Sorry.
It's all somebody else's fault, but you're doing it. I love this so much.
Hey, well, motherfucker.
Why don't you go outside and yell at the clouds like Grandpa Simpson?
Because I got people painting outside, and then they'll think I'm talking to them, and then they'll yell back at me, and I won't understand them.
Why won't you understand them?
No hablo inglés.
You don't speak English?
See?
Okay. WWE's most recent quarterly earnings report in this era, going into the October pay-per-view, show the total revenues for the quarter were $93.8 million compared to $86.1 million for the prior year. $11.2 million of that is profit. Revenues from the live and televised entertainment arms were $68.6 million compared to $65.2. Pay-per-view revenues, they're also up. They were 16.9. Now they're 21.6. Live event revenues are actually down a little bit, going from 17.9 down to 16.5, but the company was running fewer shows here. But merchandise, wow, way up. 25.2 million as compared to 16.4 million. I'm curious because these days we've heard, I don't know, gosh, for maybe the last 3 or 4 years, that there may be fewer fans watching, but those fans who are watching are more passionate and are more likely to invest financially in the product with merchandise and live events and pay-per-views, et cetera, et cetera. Do you find that to be true, that while there may be fewer people watching, they're more likely to spend, they're more diehard?
I think anytime that your audience shrinks like that, of course, the hardcores that stay are those that are more loyal and willing to support the product. They're the ones that are always going to be there to support the product. So yeah, maybe they are spending more. Maybe you find out they're the ones that for the most part are contributing the most to the bottom line. So yeah, I think your hardcores are always going to be there and they're always going to support the company, however it may be.
Let's get to our card. I'm excited for us to do this. First up is Sunday Night Heat. It aired on the preview channel and of course, WWE.com. Of course, Previously, it was on the USA Network, but we're now off of the USA Network, at least for Sunday Night Heat, but we know what's coming. William Regal and Paul Burchill are going to defeat Paul London and Brian Kendrick in 5 minutes and 9 seconds when London submitted to the Regal stretch after sustaining a shoulder breaker from Burchill, who had just recently debuted alongside Regal. In hindsight, what's your favorite Paul Burchill story?
Jesus Christ, his debut when he came in on the rope, and here's a pirate, and we had the minis that were a part of it, and the official executive from UPN was being interviewed when all of a sudden he was interrupted by a pirate swinging in and tearing up the set and coming in surrounded by a bunch of minis, as they were known in the time. And it was just chaos. And as I finished doing it and I'm watching it back, and Vince is there to watch it, and he looks at me and says, "God damn, you think maybe it's a little too much?" And I said, "Gosh, Vince, what the fuck is too much here? I mean, is it the pirate that comes sweeping in on a fucking rope? Or is it the pirate cutting up the set? Is it the fucking minis that are humping the television executive's leg? Or could it be the pirate going, 'Arr, matey? What the fuck is it that's too much?'" So, yeah, that was kind of his debut was the best.
Paul London and Brian Kendrick are on the losing side here. We know that Brian Kendrick is going to be a little hokey pokey with the company for years. And I enjoyed his work on 205 Live. And I think he's still probably one of the better trainers in wrestling based on some of the things we've seen him produce. But Paul London is a guy we haven't talked about a ton here on the show. And I was convinced after seeing him in Ring of Honor when he came over here that he was going to be, man, the next big thing. And unfortunately, I think what a lot of fans remember him most for is him sort of cracking up at Vince McMahon when he was, on his way to the limousine that was bombed. Why don't you think Paul London was a bigger hit for WWE?
I just think more than anything, it was Paul, and where else has Paul excelled? It was Paul on top anywhere else that he worked.
Well,
Anywhere?
I mean, as I said, Ring of Honor, I mean, he did well there, but I know that
he was the top guy that drew all the money in.
So if they didn't draw money somewhere else, they can't draw money here. I don't know how that math works.
No, I don't know. I'm asking you. I mean, was he a top guy that drew all this money that you can compare to and say, "Oh my God, he did so well over here. Why didn't he do well over here?" I think that Paul London, as far as talent, thought he was excellent. Could do any and everything, and also had
a great look,
very unique personality. He did have a great look. He also had a very unique and fun personality. I don't know, what it was, whether he was lacking it.
Was he just too young? I mean, that's something we don't talk about here a lot, but I mean, I guess he's 40 now, but so that means 15 years ago, he was just 25. Do you think perhaps he was just making too much money and giving too much too soon? That's something we hear a lot. Too much too soon.
That could be the case, but at the same time, there's been younger that have done a whole lot more, and sometimes it's just not it. That's why I say, can you point to anything else? God damn, he was killing it over here, and every place that he went, boy, he was selling out all these other places, and every time that he was on television, ratings were through the roof, but yet he came here and didn't do that. So I think that there is I think more than times than not, it goes the other way, where It's like, holy shit, look what he's doing now. So to me, I think that Paul just was missing it, but he had the tools. I think putting them in order and being able to put them in the right place at the right time, just for whatever reason, didn't happen.
Let's get to the main card. Michael Cole and Taz are on commentary going into the show, and several times during the show, they're sort of insinuating that Raw was planning to invade tonight's show. On the Raw Homecoming, SmackDown was having a main event caliber match when the general manager of Raw, Eric Bischoff, ordered the lights turned off and went to commercial, which is kind of fun. In retaliation, SmackDown stars ran in and interrupted a match later that night on Raw. So the groundwork is here for something that might happen and eventually would, but just not tonight. In hindsight, that was kind of fun, having the two brands feud and turn the lights off, go to commercial. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. And it was something where you actually had real brand rivalry that audiences could feel and really understand. So to me, I think that was built in inherently and the audience felt it.
Let's talk about the show open. We've got Eminem taking on the Legion of Doom. Unfortunately, Hawk is not here, so it's Animal and Heidenreich, and they're now managed by Christy Hemme. LOD had saved Hemme from Eminem's finisher on SmackDown, and on the October 7th edition of TV, Christy would join forces with LOD, and in that match, Eminem interfered and hit the snapshot on her. And the match begins with Animal taking a bunch of punishment, including his injured shoulder, before eventually tapping out. Hemme would botch a Hurricane Rana here, and to her credit, with the help from the late Animal, she hits the Doomsday device on Melina, which was a fun spot. But somehow they managed to botch the pin, but she looks good while botching everything, I guess. I believe it was reported that it got a 1.5 stars. They go 6 minutes and 25 seconds. A lot to unpack here. Let's first start by talking about and acknowledging that our old pal, Mr. Laurinaitis, has passed away, and we haven't really talked about that here on the show. So let's take a minute and talk about Road Warrior Animal.
Shocking, I guess would be the word. I was up late when John got the news, and John texted me, and yeah, I think it was just shocking to everyone as far as Joe Laurinaitis' passing. So it's yeah, it was tough, and it's one of those that okay, yeah, it happened, but I still just, I don't know if it's that I haven't accepted it or I still just don't believe it's real. So I don't know how to process it. And this is, people say that's a weird comparison. It's like Eddie Van Halen. I don't know. Eddie Van Halen and Road Warrior Animal are, in my head anyway, in their respective businesses, are two of the greatest that will never be forgotten, that were innovators in their own way. That I said to my wife last night, just, God damn, it's, I don't know how to accept Eddie Van Halen's gone. So it's just weird, just really, really, really weird to me still to this day.
Tell us a funny animal story. And if you don't have one on tap, what about that time that Slapdick, who helps us with social media, Dave Hancock, lined up a thing at the Cubs for you and Road Warrior Animal?
for me and Spider-Man? Good Lord, man. That was fucking brutal. Now, you know what a huge baseball fan I am.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I love
You kept yelling touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. It was great, especially when they would hit the field goals
Sure.
stuff.
Go for the 2-point conversion, all that.
Yeah, all that, all the above. So it was the first Starcast. We were headed to whatever that field was. Now the cool,
Whatever that field, Wrigley. Listen to you, whatever that field was.
What was it?
Wrigley. It's
Dude,
like
I really and truly, I don't know baseball.
it's
Other than the Astros are the world champions and always will be. Um, things like that. But we went there and they were the world champions. So they had the trophy. And that's like a sacred thing. And apparently in Chicago, especially, man, that was a super sacred deal. And they brought out the trophy to us to let us see and hold the trophy and take pictures with the trophy and shit, which very few people allegedly get to do. And Joe was pretty cool. We were wearing their jerseys and all this stuff. So the whole thing was we were there to be a part of the promotion for Starcast, and they were going to put us on TV. They were going to interview us and all this shit. And when we get there, it's like, okay, well, we'll get you guys some good seats. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the game. And Joe and I are looking at each other like, I don't give a fuck about the game. We got shit to do. And we're just here to watch a goddamn game. I don't want to watch a game. So, Slapdick, whatever the fuck.
Stupid ass Hancock, who lined all this up and said,
line what up? He got free tickets to the game and wanted us to tag along.
Yes, but that's not the way it was presented to us. Stupid ass Slapdick.
Yeah, no shit. So, we got there, and of course, to Joe, he's looking at me like, hey, this is your doing. And I'm looking at him going, dude, I'm talent on this one. I don't know. Fuck. I'm just here to help promote Starcast. And that wasn't what it was. It was, hey, y'all want to go to the baseball game? I've never been to this field, and I've got tickets for us. And yeah, it was shits. So Joe is in his LOD
full gimmick. Full gimmick,
guys. And walking around with this face with a fucking spider on it. And people are coming up to him going, who are you? We're in Chicago. He's a fucking LOD. He's Animal. And they're going, who are you? And he's getting madder and madder and madder as the day goes on. We have no parking. We don't have tickets. We don't have passes to get in. We've got to go to Will Call to get tickets. And we got to park and walk through with everybody. And I've got Spider-Man with me, which is what people are coming up to him going, oh, are you the Spider-Man? And every time that they do that, I'm laughing my ass off. So when people would come up, I'd go, hey, have you met Spider-Man? And Joe was getting madder and madder and madder as the day went on. So it was good. And I think that, actually, I don't even know if we ever made it on air to promote Starcast, but it was pretty fucking funny to where Joe and I were finally like, okay, how much beer can we drink? How can we get our hot dogs and just as much Chicago signature shit that we could eat during this thing? And then he's like, man, I'm staying one more inning. If we don't get some kind of promotion on that, I'm fucking just leaving. And I think they panned the crowd and we might have been in a shot. It was fucking horrible is what it was.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Yeah, he was not happy at all. Who the fuck ran that bullshit?
Stupid ass Dave Hancock.
Okay.
Who, by the way, since we buried him so thoroughly this morning, we should send our condolences. His dog Wrigley just passed away. So,
well, for that, I'm extremely sorry. I love dogs. I love dogs better than humans. Except Joe, that's not discounting. I miss Joe.
I didn't even think of that. Nobody thought that you meant that. You just like Wrigley better than you like Hancock, and you never even met Wrigley.
I don't like Hancock. So
exactly.
There you go.
Let's promise that we're going to do a Road Warrior episode soon.
We will.
I think we need to. I want to do it justice. So stay tuned, boys and girls. We will cover
justice.
No, but how about this though? I can't wait till we talk about that part in the Road Warrior episode where we talk about the fact that you made him tag with John Heidenreich, who's most famous for raping Michael Cole or fighting Alabama Doink in a Golden Corral parking lot.
I'm going with the Alabama parking lot.
What about Eminem here?
Fuck Alabama Doink too. Jesus Christ. He fucking Doink.
He passed away.
I understand that, but he was a con man.
Let's fuck him anyway.
Yeah.
Wait, why was he a con man? I don't know Alabama Doink.
I don't know why he was a con man either, but he was never a fucking doink in WWE. He was never a doink. Ever. Ever.
I love that you got doink heat.
That fucking pisses me off.
I got doink heat. God damn it.
It does. And again, maybe it's because to me, there's only one doink and that was Matt Bourne, Ray Apollo. Okay.
Steve Lombardi.
Oh, God damn. Lombardi was when you needed a third doink to do some kind of bit. And then,
hang on now. Didn't you get him to Doinks R Us?
Yeah, it was, that's what it became, was Doinks R Us. But Kern was the original second doink.
The original second doink.
Yeah. But fuck that shit, man. There's only one doink, and that was Matt Bourne. Kern was good at doink. Apollo was nyeh, but he was okay. Just he inherited it and didn't have the same kind of style and charisma that Matt Bourne had in that character. Matt Bourne made doink. Lombardi, not a chance. And fucking whoever the fuck Alabama Doink
was.
And whatever. Not even close. Never was a doink in WWE. Come on.
Okay. I didn't know you had to get
Gets me hot. See, now you got me hot.
I'm sad we lost him. It's been 2 years ago. We poured out a little bit of liquor here at the house for him. Rest in peace, Alabama Doink. Talk to me about Eminem. Of course, we know one of these guys is going to go on to be one of the Stooges during the Authority era. Joey Mercury, who's become quite the controversial figure in wrestling in more recent years. Johnny Nitro has been Johnny Everything Everywhere. And of course, Melina rounded out the package. This was a cool tag team concept and look and pairing. And it happened at a time when it didn't feel like tag team wrestling was exactly a priority with the company. What do you remember about Eminem you can share with us? Why did it work so well?
I think that it was a threesome that had a desire and had a pretty good understanding of, they felt like they belonged together and they worked together. So everything, you had three people that were like-minded and their mindset was to go out and make everything the best that they could. And every little thing was analyzed in a good way and had a feel for the business. So yeah, that's why it worked. It worked because there was a desire there to get over, and there was a desire there to be different and make it work. Not everybody has that same desire.
I like their pairing. I thought it really worked. Of course, since they've got, two guys and a lady in their corner, they feel like they need to have a lady on the LOD side. Why was Christy Hemme the right person for that role?
I think more than anything, it was just during this time that with Eminem that they needed a female counterpart to to go against.
Let me ask this whole, and I'm sure we'll get into this when we do a long form LOD show, but a new Legion of Doom DVD was being released around this same time. Is that why LOD got a revised run here? Or is it something where you first pitch Animal on it, he bites on it, but he says, "Hey, what if?" And since Johnny Ace is there in the office as well, maybe, I don't know, just talk to me about how those two dovetail together. Cause it does feel like it would be intentional.
Well, as far as the DVD release and all of that and bringing them back on, you're going to sell a lot more DVDs if who you're promoting is currently on television. So you can talk about it and go back in time. Laurinaitis, John, had nothing to do with that. And I think that John did a great job from day one as far as separating himself, and there wasn't any nepotism there as far as favorites and what have you. John really did remove himself, was there to do his job as talent relations, whether it was getting contracts done and handling talent relations on that side. But there was no nepotism there or favoritism in any way. The idea was, LOD, we've got a DVD coming out. Let's do something with them to put them in a story so that people will be interested, maybe want to buy a DVD.
Let's keep it moving here and, talk about what's next. We see backstage, Batista's getting ready and Eddie shows up to say good luck while gritting his teeth. And of course, Batista says, "Good luck back." And our next contest is between Simon Dean and Bobby Lashley, who recently debuted on SmackDown. Simon is fresh off a drink of his Simon System shake, and he issued a challenge to anyone in the back. And ring announcer Tony Chimmel began to read a long list of all of Bobby Lashley's accomplishments, of course, all to Simon Dean's dismay. And Dean is dismantled rather quickly by Bobby Lashley, and the two would continue their feud for the next several weeks leading up to this event. And when Simon Dean comes out here with a guy carrying 20 double cheeseburgers, Simon says, "Hey fatties, I'll eat all these cheeseburgers if I don't win." And of course the crowd likes this. And during the match, we even get a Paul Bosch reference on commentary. He's referred to as the legendary Houston promoter. And I think we get one or two more Paul Bosch references later in the night. Is that just out of the respect of the announcers? Does Vince think it might be a nice touch to mention that? Is that something you're pushing on headset? Paul Bosch getting acknowledged is kind of cool here, but it does feel at times like something maybe Vince wouldn't have been co-signing.
Well, of course he co-signed it. It's history. And I think it's something that everybody knows it, damn it. So it's a shout out to a legendary promoter that was synonymous with Houston, Texas wrestling. Why wouldn't you mention it?
What about, I know we've talked about it briefly before. Simon Dean. The name is a rib on Dean Malenko, right?
It's not a rib on him.
Okay. What can you tell us about Simon Dean and his name?
I think looking at when it was time for Simon to come in and work this gimmick as the fitness guru, just kind of happened. I think that Simon came up as the first name, and then it was Dean Simon, which was the real name of Dean Malenko. It just happened. Well, what if you flip-flop those names and look, you've got Simon Dean. That's all it was. It wasn't, I don't know why that's a rib.
Oh, why do you take such great offense to the word rib?
Because people then, the perception is, well, let's rib Dean Malenko. Ha ha ha. That's not what it is. It's just like, like the name Simon, it was a play on Jack LaLanne, and just, it's not a rib. It's just happenstance.
Well, I hope that one day there's a character on TV named Prichard Bruce who can't figure out how to get his electronics to work and has an alarm go off to remind him when to take his pills. That'd
be great.
But it wouldn't be a rib at all.
Why would it be a rib?
I agree. It's not a rib. So
Based in reality.
Simon's going to hit Lashley with the burger tray, but it doesn't affect him. Surprise. Lashley pulls Dean up by his legs from the corner and catches him, but drops him. He picks him back up though, does the Dominator. That's all she wrote, 1 minute and 55 seconds. And Bobby Lashley has disposed of Mr. Simon Dean with the old Dominator. This is the lowest rated match on the card. And then Lashley's going to feed Simon Dean the first of his 20 burgers. Where'd y'all get these burgers, Bruce?
Burgers are us.
Bobby,
get burgers.
Bobby Lashley here, certainly on his way up the card. Is he somebody who impressed Vince right away just based on look and legitimate athletic background, or who was really pushing for Bobby Lashley behind the scenes to be one of the next big stars?
Jerry Briscoe is the one who discovered Bobby Lashley, and Lashley just had that look, the smile, Jesus Christ, and charisma of a star. So you take a look at Bobby, and if you can't figure something out to do with Bobby, then maybe there's something wrong with you. I think that Bobby had all of the tools, and it was all written all over his face.
Talk to me a little bit about Simon Dean. I don't know when we'll talk about him again in real life.
Why would you?
The guy behind the scenes, Mike Bucci, the man behind the character. He's probably the person who's most famous for saying something that you see on social media all the time. Take a bullet for Dr. Tom and put one in Bruce. Where's the heat? Why did Mike Bucci and you not get along, or did you even know y'all had heat?
Oh, I never knew that ever. And, so that's kind of the funny thing about it is never knew it until somebody asked me that in one of those shoot interviews or whatever. And they asked me about whatever the hell his name was in WCW or ECW, I think it was. I didn't know who that was. I really and truly didn't. And then when I heard what his statement was, I'm like, okay, because I don't know the guy. I know who he is. It's not that I don't know him. I never really worked with him that much at all. So if he's got heat with me, then he doesn't have heat with me. Apparently I have heat with him for something that he may think that I did. I really don't care because I don't know the guy. So whatever it is, it's misplaced, and he can think and do whatever the hell he wants. He has that prerogative. So, don't know. Don't care.
There you go. Well, backstage, we see Jillian Hall with JBL. They've got an interviewer with him, of course. He's going to mention something about the possibility of Raw showing up tonight. And then Rey Mysterio shows up and he offers JBL a mask to hide his face in shame when he loses later. And JBL doesn't want it. So he offers it to Jillian and her growth. Yeah, this is the regrettable angle where you guys, well, how would you describe what was going on with Jillian here? I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'll just ask you.
She had a growth on her face.
Why was that? Had someone just watched an Austin Powers movie, or what's the thinking here?
I can't help that she has a growth on her face, man. Okay. It just was. Just happened to be.
Who liked this idea? Is this a Vince idea?
Sure. Absolutely loved it.
God damn. What if she had some shit on her face?
It wasn't shit. It was a mole.
See, you are doing the Austin Powers thing.
Why isn't Austin Powers doing me?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. There you go. You got me back to like 8/9 hot again.
Seriously, this is a regrettable storyline. Listen, you've had a lot of good ideas over the years, but how did anybody think Jillian Hall having a growth on her face was going to draw money?
It wasn't meant to draw money. It was meant to be entertaining. Meant to be a topic of conversation.
Hey, let's make fun of a lady and her growth.
No, not make fun of them. Give them something to talk about.
In a positive way.
Just in a way that you have something to talk about.
Okay. Now it's time for the
right now, I've got my hair styled in a way that you can talk about it.
That's true.
You choose to make fun of it because you have very mean-spirited.
I'm mean-spirited.
You're mean-spirited.
Okay.
So we had fun with it and said, Dr. Brown, to the moon, Alice. Oh, wait, that's another guy.
That's another thing. Next up, we got a fatal 4-way match for the United States Championship. At the time, it's held by Chris Benoit. He's been getting super quick wins over Orlando Jordan since SummerSlam, many of them in less than 30 seconds. And Benoit's been on a run, but he lost recently to Christian. And Christian has a contentious interview on the Peep Show with Booker T a few weeks ago on SmackDown. So all of these competitors have been intertwined for a few weeks. Sharmell gets a big entrance in her own music, and she's going to introduce the Houston native Booker T to a huge pop. And Benoit comes out to a big reaction. He's wearing the tights that have the claw marks that almost look like the Monster Energy logo. And early in the match, Benoit is almost beating Orlando Jordan again with the crossface, but it's interrupted. However, after struggling for a short time, Benoit wins over Christian with the sharpshooter in 10 minutes and 22 seconds to retain his title. 2.5 stars is the report it got in the newsletter. But the story is that Sharmell is chewing out Booker for being a good guy. She's been pushing him in a bad direction, including some cheating tactics. And she seems to be getting more aggressive with Booker's failing performances. What'd you think of the match and sort of the sub story of Booker T and Sharmell?
Well, I thought the match was tremendous. I thought it was a damn good match. But again, it was to further the storyline of just, is Booker losing it a little bit and Sharmell kind of being on his shit about you need to improve. You need to find a different edge in a different way to approach your career. And it was a good story.
Let's talk about Christian. His contract's going to expire later that month on October 31st. And Dave Meltzer would report that he was asked to sign a new contract on the spot and declined. And his last match for the company was on the November 4th episode of SmackDown. He would team with JBL in a losing effort against Rey Mysterio and Matt Hardy. And by November 13th, just 9 days later, he's debuting for TNA on their pay-per-view event, Genesis. I know we sort of touched on it at the top of the show, but I do want to circle back here now. Do you remember him being offered a contract on the spot and not signing it? And how was that received?
It wasn't something that all of a sudden came up and was offered on the spot. It was something that had been offered a while back, and Jay didn't want to sign. Jay wanted to move on. And then I think there was kind of a final look. Are you going to sign or not? And, Jay was not interested in re-signing. So you move on, but, it wasn't all of a sudden, oh my God, Jay's contract is coming up. Oh shit. Hey, sign this now. No, it was a several month deal of, look, what are you going to do? And it was kind of a last ditch effort to say, if you're not going, if you're not going to, definitely not going to sign with us, please let us know.
What do you think his frustration was at the time? Do you think it was seeing how Edge had been positioned as a single star compared to his own push? Or do you think it was more him believing perhaps that when a team like this breaks up, one guy's going to be positioned above the other, and he realized, hey, I'm going to be second fiddle no matter what? Or, I mean, had he heard maybe about the blue dot nonsense that we talked about before? Had that maybe gotten back to him? What do you think his real reason was for wanting to try something else?
I think it was just frustration on his part and the ability to display what he wanted to do on his own and be featured. So let's move on. Let's move to someplace else and do that to display what he wanted to do. Sometimes that satisfaction is worth more than any amount of money or anything else. And Jay's a performer. He wanted to perform.
Do you think in hindsight, and of course we're sort of armchair quarterbacking, if he was given the push here that Ken Kennedy was about to receive, maybe he would have stuck around? Or do you think he just felt like, hey, this is where they see me, and I got to go do something else?
I think that he was searching for a new coat of paint somewhere and just different pastures.
Yeah. Our old friend JR used to say, go learn a new hold, right?
Joshua Fryer.
It's time for Ken Kennedy's pay-per-view debut. He's debuted to one of the biggest pushes in a long time. In consecutive weeks on TV, he's gotten pinfall wins over Booker T, Rey Mysterio, and a whole host of others. He's just oozing charisma here. And this version of his theme music has never been released. So if somebody, who works for WWE is listening to that, hypothetically, we got a lot of questions like, where can we get this theme? So not necessarily my deal, but a lot of fans are into this. Here though, we see Kennedy facing Hardcore Holly. The two had beef when Holly lost to Sylvan on SmackDown because of interference by Ken Kennedy, and Holly is going by the Alabama Slamma nickname and using the Alabama Slam as his finishing move. So roll tide on that. But he's in a losing effort here. Ken Kennedy beats him in just under 9 minutes, 8 minutes and 50 seconds with the forward roll Samoan drop from the middle turnbuckle, 2 3/4 stars. And after the bout, Sylvan would come out as Holly was assisted by officials and attack Holly's ribs. And he finishes the assault with a brain buster. Lot to unpack here, but the biggest thing is Kennedy's getting a monster push. What made him a favorite in the office to get this type of push right away? Was it the natural charisma, the mic stuff that we felt like, hey, this guy could be a great talker? What was it about him that Vince was like, that's the guy? Can you drill down on what it was?
I think that his ability to cut really good, believable, convincing promos, and his ring work was good. But I think more than anything there was a dynamic in his personality that made him listen. You wanted to listen, and Ken had that kind of charisma. Just, it was an it factor, and it was something that was special, and Ken connected with the audience. It's that simple sometimes. If the audience is connecting and the audience wants more of it, Ken was a little bit different, a little over the top. His presentation, people believed him. That's all it was. It was attraction.
Sylvan here getting a little heat. I didn't remember this happening, but I do appreciate that they're trying to do something with characters like Sylvan and Holly, who for a lot of years, it felt like we're maybe lost in the shuffle a little bit. What'd you think of the Sylvan angle they did here?
Again, it's something to make everything mean something. So being able to shift Sylvan and hear Bob Holly after a losing effort, it just creates a little more interest in that story. And I think every match, every segment should have some kind of story attached to it.
Let's get to the backstage area, and we're going to see Simon Dean eating these cheeseburgers. Bobby Lashley is not giving him a choice in the matter. And we also see backstage that Sharmell is all over Booker T. She's chewing him out, saying he's not a winner. And Ken Kennedy shows up calling himself a winner and Booker a loser. And in the weeks that followed, Booker and Benoit would revisit their best of 7 competition from the WCW days. Sharmell would interfere on the October 21st SmackDown, helping Booker win the U.S. title. And Booker T would pretend to be unaware of her interference, but later said he had been fully aware and playing everyone, turning heel. I like the idea of a wife, quote unquote, getting in her husband's ear, because that's real life for a lot of folks. This was a good little storyline. And I like this evolution of how do we turn Booker T, a beloved character, into a bad guy.
Is that real life for everyone, Conrad?
Not everyone, but a lot of people. You know that.
Oh, okay. Well, you sounded like you were speaking from experience.
Oh no, I'm just saying I work with guys, and I know that. Hey man, want to get a beer after work? I have to ask for permission. And that's just, I hear that a lot. And so,
well, you're married. Do you ask for permission?
What do you think?
Well, somebody likes that gray in your beard.
Oh yeah. Listen, I was never going to dye. I was never going to dye my beard anyway. But yeah, she does like the gray in the beard.
Yeah. Okay. You were going to dye it.
Well, first of all, I'm never going to dye it or dye it. So there will be no dye.
Hey, Conrad, when you going to dye it?
I'm not gonna. JBL faces Rey Mysterio next. JBL's been down on his luck after losing feuds to John Cena and Batista, even lost to Mysterio on SmackDown. So he's hired a new image consultant for help, Jillian Hall. And you heard about this earlier. Her gimmick is she's got a giant growth on her face. It's some kind of latex or rubber piece here. And it's all the announcers can think about or talk about, just like they saw the old Austin Powers. Ray's going to start the match on the offense, of course, making JBL chase him and get gassed. Mysterio then hits the 619. And by the time he springboards off the top rope, JBL's back on his feet, and JBL hits the clothesline from hell and gets a victory in 13 minutes and 24 seconds, 3.5 stars. I got to tell you, I didn't have high hopes for this match, and I don't know why. I've always loved this sort of David and Goliath, the big man versus the smaller man. And JBL hitting a clothesline from hell on anybody looks brutal, but it looks devastating on Rey Mysterio. I really enjoyed this match. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. And first of all, I think that Rey Mysterio could make a block of concrete look good if he wants to and be able to get anything over. And then John, going out and playing the big Texas bully in Texas, it works. So I thought it was a hell of a match and a good story. And it just displayed the greatness of Ray and the greatness of Bradshaw's heat and being able to, as much as Ray could work with a block of concrete, make it look good, Bradshaw could get heat on a block of concrete just by opening his mouth.
Let's get to the next match. We're going to take a little bit of a trip to the dark side because all year Randy Orton has been feuding with The Undertaker. He lost at WrestleMania, but as the two continue their rivalry into SummerSlam, Orton finally picks up a win with the help of his returning father, Cowboy Bob Orton. On SmackDown, the Ortons drove a U-Haul truck out and wheeled out a casket with a mannequin of The Undertaker inside, but it appears to be the actual human being in the casket. Kind of a fun little skit. The following week, the Ortons come out with the casket and the mannequin again, except this time it is actually The Undertaker. And it's a cool visual when Undertaker grabs Randy's throat and gets out of the casket. And around this time, Undertaker is maybe more noticeably than ever before wearing mascara. Is this a touch that creative services is going to be heavily involved in when you're doing these type of skits?
No. And I don't think that he was wearing anything more than normal. Maybe he was just extra tired. Maybe it was from being in the casket a little bit too long, or not long enough.
Maybe not long enough. The next week
I'm wearing mascara right now.
Nope.
Really? Do I look like I'm wearing mascara?
No.
Okay. Well, okay, cool.
I mean, do you walk around your house at 9 a.m. with mascara on as a rule with dark brown hair?
You never know.
I don't know what y'all are doing up there. Listen,
are you saying, I think that some of our people that don't speak Southern, I know what you're saying.
You've changed.
You're basically saying Doc Brown, but to some people they're hearing dark brown.
Dark brown?
Yeah.
No, it's Doc Brown. Everybody gets the reference. 1.21 gigawatts. Everybody knows what that is but you.
Nobody knows what 1.21 gigawatts is. They know what Back to the Future, Marty.
He never said that.
He did in my goddamn movie. Brad Gilmore has a whole goddamn book about Back or to the Future.
Wait, Brad Gilmore wrote a book about that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, see? And you're talking about 2.3.
Oh, wait. This is a different Brad Gilmore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this was Booker's Brad.
It is Booker's Brad.
That's Booker's Brad?
That's Booker's Brad.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know under that big bouffant hair, he had a Back to the
He
Future
got some
brain.
motherfucking hair.
Dude, he's got some TV hair.
Dude, I swear to God, he must spend like 8 hours on that shit.
How does Brad Gilmore not work for WWE?
Because he works down there.
It feels like he's been on like a 32-year tryout. Y'all should bring him up. Call him up.
I'll call him right now if you want me to.
He's a good dude. All right, let's keep it going here. Can we talk about something besides your fucked up hair today?
Why? I'm not the one talking about my fucked up hair.
You brought it up.
You brought it up.
I brought it up originally. You brought it up again.
You're talking about my dark hair.
It's not dark. It's very,
no,
it's more gray now than ever. You should dye it.
Then it would be dark. Wait a minute. Why you want me to go on a diet?
I don't. Next week
How the fuck is going on a diet going to affect my hair?
Well, let's just try it and see.
Okay.
Next week on SmackDown, The Undertaker's gong hits during a match between the Ortons and Roddy Piper, allowing Piper to win, pinning Cowboy Bob, of course. Once again, the camera tricks are used to show a casket with lifelike mannequins, but it's really just both Ortons laid in this jumbo casket. Orton's wearing an NWO themed RKO shirt during this time period. And you originally called the Kamala Undertaker match a coffin match, but since then it's been referred to as a casket match. Is this a Vince McMahon ism that we stopped using the word coffin and we started using the word casket?
Well, I think that first of all, there's two different things. I think for the most part, a wooden coffin is it's called a coffin, and a casket is the more traditional, what people, use now, which is usually made of some type of metal or what have you. And I could be wrong. I'm just making up shit right now.
I mean, they are a little different, but I think it's just based on the shape, or at least that was my thinking.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with that. Because coffin is like the traditional Dracula,
Yes. And casket's just a rectangle.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to get hot about it. Hypothetically, this is not one of those, we can't say hospital, pal. We say medical facility. It's not a Vince thing, right?
No, it's just what it is.
Okay. Back to No Mercy. Cowboy Bob and his son Randy are out next with a handicap casket match. The Druids carry.
It sounds funny the way you said that. Cowboy Bob and his son Randy.
Well, that's the truth, is it not?
It's like Roy Rogers and his horse Trigger.
Okay.
Don't know why. But, okay, folks, tweet hey Conrad if it's
it's at hey it's Conrad.
Okay, what he said.
Yeah. And tweet me about what now?
About if that's funny or not.
It's not. The Druids carry a casket to the ring, to the chanting in Latin or some other foreign language. Are they chanting something funny that we should slow down and record and play backwards? Is it like, who booked this shit in backwards or something like that?
If you'd like to.
The Undertaker enters and passes the exiting Druids on the way to the ring, which is a cool visual. The two have feuded all year, and it actually continues after this event as well. As the match begins, surprise, Cowboy Bob is bumping all over the place. He's dressed like an old grandpa shopping for a pocket knife at Walmart, and he goes from taking flat back bumps to just landing on his butt slowly midway through the match. There's only so much a man can take. Undertaker remains mostly dominant through the match until the Ortons hit a double suplex off the second rope, and that's Cowboy Bob's old finishing maneuver. Undertaker struggles to get both Ortons to stay incapacitated, and eventually Cowboy Bob uses a fire extinguisher to blind the Undertaker, and the two knock the dead man into the casket. Randy hits him with a chair shot to the head and closes the lid for the win. It goes 19 minutes and 6 seconds, and the Observer gave it a dud rating. I like the idea of the father-son duo, but, well, it's maybe not the best match we ever saw. Two questions here. How did Undertaker like working with this father-son duo? And more importantly, how did Randy like working with his dad?
I think they both loved it on both sides. As far as Undertaker and Randy, good Lord, the chemistry there was out of this world. They had great matches. enjoyed working with one another. Throwing Bob into that mix and Randy getting to work with his dad, I think for him was one of those dream come trues, and being able to work with his old man, who was one of the greatest of all time, was pretty damn cool from Randy's point of view and Bob's point of view, getting to come out with his son and kind of have that Orton legacy displayed. So to all of that, I think that they really enjoyed all around working with one another.
The Ortons then do the old Rumble 98 spot with the casket being set on fire. So once again, the Undertaker has been murdered live on pay-per-view.
He wasn't murdered.
He was burned alive.
That's different.
Oh, so he's burned alive, but not dead.
Right.
But I thought the Undertaker was always dead.
But he wasn't murdered.
Okay. I think I'm with you.
Yeah, I was taking large poo-poos in my pants while this was going on, because Randy had a hard time getting the damn casket started. I was just off camera and was telling one of the stage managers down on the floor, I'm going to run in and grab Randy to tell him what to do to get this damn thing started, because it was getting uncomfortably long. And as I started to go, the damn thing finally lit. And I didn't have to go and get thrown by Randy, but it was pretty close, where I was contemplating, just tell him I'm going to go out and grab Randy and kind of follow off screen so that Randy can get this goddamn thing lit, and I can send someone in to help him get it lit.
Is one of the tricks you've got to poke a hole in the top, like you've got to crack it open in order for
you got to get air going, man.
Yes. Just like a big green egg, you got to get some airflow.
You got to get that air flowing. Why did you make the thumb up the poo-poo?
Well, because I was thinking about the big green egg. You open a little vent at the bottom, you open the vent at the top, and now you've got the airflow, and that's what fire needs, is oxygen to grow.
We all need oxygen to grow.
Jesus Christ, this could be a chore sometimes. When you're setting him,
love me.
I love you a lot, and it's nice that we're actually on video and I get to see my friend for the first time in a long time.
Oh,
even with your stupid 1.21 gigawatt hair.
Okay. What about your fucking hair?
Hey, my hair looks fucking good.
My hair looks good.
I don't want to hear no shit from you. Hey, so chat me up about this, these type of stunts. Is this something you have to, facilitate in an unconventional way with the venue?
Well, anytime that you use fire in an enclosed arena, yeah, you need to
meet with the fire marshal, have a discussion.
Meet with the fire marshal, the building, everybody, make sure that it is safe for the thousands in attendance, and make sure that everybody's cool with it. So, yeah, this kind of a situation is not something you really want to fuck with, because there is a potential that things can go wrong. So as far as safety and as far as doing it exactly right, you got to play by the books on this, because it truly is dangerous, not only for the performers, but for the audience members. So yeah, this one, you got to kind of play by the rules and make sure that everybody's on board, and most importantly, that everybody's safe.
Well, it is quite the visual. I know you're not going to tell us, but I assume that Taker, obviously Taker wasn't actually in the casket. Does he slip?
Why is that obvious?
Because you don't want to burn Mark Calloway.
I'm not going to burn Mark Calloway.
So is he going to roll under the ring with like a trapdoor gimmick? Is that the move?
Goddamn magic.
God, I remember when
I saw him go into the casket. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I saw the casket go up in flames. Did you see that?
Yeah.
God damn it. It was a fucking miracle.
Next up, something that ages extremely well, the Mexicools. We've got Juventud, Psychosis, and Super Crazy driving fucking lawnmowers to the ring. Boy, talk about shit that's regrettable. This did not age well. Juventud, along with Psychosis and Super Crazy in his corner. Juventud is going to pin the cruiserweight champion Nunzio. He's got Vito in his corner to win the title with the Juvi driver. 6 minutes and 50 seconds. 2.25 stars. This is the death spot. This is the popcorn match. This is the let me up match. We've just set a man on fire. And now we've got 3 Hispanic performers coming to the ring riding lawnmowers for the cruiserweight title.
Yeah. It's great, wasn't it?
Who co-signed the lawnmowers?
Juan Deere? What? Juan Deere.
This is like the worst deposition we've ever done. Is Vince fascinated with, goddamn pal, you ever have a gardener?
Look, man, again, everybody thinks this was our idea. This was just as much the Mexico's idea as was anyone, and talking through gimmicks and everything where they're looking at, and a lot of it was stereotypical, does not age well, would not happen today, but it was something from a perceived heat standpoint to do the Mexico stuff. And they being the talent thought that it really was cool and thought it was something that they could dig their teeth into. So sink their teeth into. Still early in the morning for me.
Let's talk a little bit about, the post match, because Hoovy is going to celebrate like he won the fucking lottery. And you send Hugo out to interview Hoovy, and it's all done in Spanish. This is tremendous. I really liked it. I love Hoovy as a character. I love him as an in-ring performer. Why was Hoovy not long for WWE?
I think that at the time that Hoovy was probably his own worst enemy and not always the most consistent performer and or reliable outside of the ring. So Hoovy could be his own worst enemy. And looking at the guys involved, it just had a lot of potential, had a lot of charisma and personality. To me, Hoovy just oozed personality and charisma.
Right.
But sometimes it just, goddamn, he could overthink things to the point of just overthinking his way right out of things.
Was Hoovy, we've heard legendary stories of Hoovy maybe overindulging and showing his ass a little bit. Was Hoovy doing a lot of partying in this era, or was he just wrestling wasn't his main priority?
I just think, well, no, Hoovy was always Hoovy's main priority. I don't know if it was wrestling or the business or anything else, but to Hoovy, yeah, man, Hoovy was all about Hoovy.
Right. Let's get to our main event of the evening. JBL is hot off of, or rather Batista is hot off of his JBL feud. JBL was calling himself a wrestling god. Eddie has just finished up a program with Rey Mysterio. He is now Dominic's poppy, and Eddie's going to win a cage match on the debut of Friday Night SmackDown. And it was called at the time TV that's changing Friday nights. Eddie gets a new version of his theme song that night too. And the following week, Teddy Long and the executive from the network, Palmer Cannon, announced the new #1 contender. Teddy Long acts like he's about to announce Rey Mysterio, but Palmer steals the mic and announces Eddie. And Eddie's promo begins about how he's got a past and how he's had addictions, and now he's got a newfound addiction: honor, respect, and doing the right thing. And he declares that he's the new Eddie Guerrero, and he wants to prove it at No Mercy. And he and Batista can have a match and not hate each other. And Eddie's facials during this promo are incredible. It's almost like a baby face turn that the fans don't trust. I love this version of Eddie and what we're trying for. What'd you think about the direction of the character here, where he's trying to do a baby face turn, but it feels like he's doing it through gritted teeth?
It was a character thing that people in general at this time looked at Eddie as this fantastic performer. There was a lot of respect, and there was a lot of feel for Eddie as just the extraordinary performer that he was. And they loved whatever Eddie did.
Right.
So Eddie, I think Eddie could have gone out and done anything on camera, and the people would have reacted in a way that they quote were supposed to, while at the same time loving the performance of Eddie Guerrero. Eddie was just that kind of a performer that he could take you on a ride, and you could love him and hate him at the same time, or you could love him and love him. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. The other thing I want to ask about here, Palmer Cannon. Haven't spent a lot of time talking about him. What a strange little run he had. What can you tell us about Palmer Cannon?
You know, Palmer was someone that came out of the UPN agreement and relationship, if you will. Wasn't not really the agreement, I'd say the relationship, in that we were looking for something different and a way to introduce a new character, because sometimes the representatives from networks can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to those of us on the inside. In those days, I think that as time wore on, it's funny how it ran the gambit from early on, Bonnie Hammer being such a positive and really good relationship with the company to help us turn things around and to work with us in such a positive way through the years, that sometimes those relationships could become contentious, and that the network, a la UPN and some of those, could be try to wield more power than they actually had, or what they thought that they had. So this was just another way to do it. And I think that in general, during this time, that people that ran networks were becoming more and more prominent in the networks. You had Les Moonves and Jeff Zucker and folks like that were becoming prominent in the news in general, that you never really got to know the people behind the scenes. So we took a network rep and put him on camera, made him a character. And Palmer Cannon was that character. As we got into it, I don't know that he was really ready mentally, maturity-wise, to be on the road and be a part of the business at that time. He was a worker. He was a guy fresh out of the developmental system. He was fresh in the developmental system, and I just don't think that he was ready for the business.
Yeah, he started with Deep South in 05, and we're still talking about this in 05. He debuts on TV August 25th of 05, and I guess as the story goes, in April of the following year, he flew himself home from a tour over in Italy and gave notice to the officials, and he cited harassment, allegedly, from Benoit, JBL, and Wrestlers Court as the reason that he decided to resign, and he's granted his release about a week later. But this is a strange, interesting little story in wrestling that maybe we'll get a little deeper on someday, but it just feels weird. I mean, the guy debuts, and I mean, he's hired with the company. A few months later, he's on TV in a very prominent role, and a handful of months later, that's all she wrote, folks.
Yeah, it was an idea that was quickly put together, and I don't know that it was really all the way thought out, and it didn't work. So we moved on, and the human being behind the character didn't work either. So we just moved on, and sometimes
it bees that way.
It bees that way. You think you've got a great idea, and it just didn't pan out.
So after we see this phenomenal promo on SmackDown from Eddie Guerrero, he's supposed to tag with Batista the next week against Eminem, but he's faking being sick. At least that's the implication. And Batista brings in a doctor who's going to give him this is real, a rectal probe without lubricant. And Batista holds Eddie down as Eddie makes the segment work with his verbal and facial expressions. And Batista's on track to win the match, but Eddie tags in after watching from outside the entire time and hits the frog splash. And he's going to sell his ass as he's celebrating with a confused Batista. Bruce, why are y'all having people stick shit up people's asses on SmackDown?
You've never been anally probed?
No, I'm not 40 yet. I think you start that at 40.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's about right.
But you probably got a jump start on yours, right?
I did not. Well, actually, I guess I kind of did, but I had issues down there at a young age.
What was his name?
Dr. Procto.
Seriously, who says, okay, guys, what if he faked sick so we had a doctor come shove something up his ass and Batista holds him down?
See, you go to the ultimate crudest possible thing. We went to actual medical journals to decide what would a real medical professional do in this situation.
Well, you can take his temperature through his mouth.
Listen, man. I got a doctor in the family.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I made a call.
Okay.
Dr. John Richards. What would happen if? Dr. John said, well, if it was me, I'd anally probe him, and you got to put some suppositories up there because suppositories, pro tip, kids, they get in your system a lot faster than any other type medication other than injection. But I guess it kind of is an injection because it is rectally going up in there, but it dissolves immediately and gets into your system and can help you a whole lot faster than orals.
So during COVID, you've had your butthole reamed out a few times?
No, sir. Never had my butthole reamed out.
You're just going to make sure you're not sick.
But I'm not sick.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's rectally. You just told us that.
No, there's not, because I don't have any symptoms. Eddie had a symptom.
What was the symptom?
He didn't feel good.
On the Raw home. Seriously. Vince loves toilet humor. He had
before we even go into any of this shit, okay?
Literally.
We're talking about real shit here.
Okay.
So let's talk about real shit.
Okay.
And I'm folks, this is a horrible segue.
Oh gosh.
But our good friend, we've talked about it many times.
No.
John Paul Shelnut.
Oh,
I'm going there. Okay, see, I'm going real here now for a minute. I'm going heartfelt here for a minute. If you check out our Twitter and some different things, John Paul Shelnut's going through a hard time. You've heard us talk about him on the show, and John Paul suffered a stroke, and his left side has left him without feeling and or movement on his left side. John Paul's been in the hospital now for a few months and has not really. Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is that there's been no improvement, and they've done all that they can do and continue, and they will continue to. But, insurance, as we all know, is only going to cover so much. I don't do this. I don't ask for money. I don't ask for this kind of shit. But here's the reality is that John Paul needs help. And first of all, he's been out of work. He's done, a lot of stuff out in Hollywood, bit parts and things of that nature. And it's just a really horrible, you got COVID going on and what have you. His insurance is only going to pay so much. He's leaving the rehab facility due to that. And the real cost of all this is helping. So there's a GoFundMe page. And if you go to, GoFundMe.com, look up John Paul Shelnut, and we will have a link up on our social media. Help him out. And Billy Gibbons, Billy Bob Thornton, myself, we're helping out any way we can. We'll have pictures up there for those that donate certain things. I know Gibbons is doing some stuff, and help him out if you can. $1 is $1. And the real cost of what he needs to get him back up on his feet, literally, and try to stimulate and hopefully get him back walking and get him up again. He needs your help. I'm asking for your help. I'd greatly appreciate it. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of mine. He's a friend of Conrad's.
and he's a great human being that I consider a part of my family. And we'll have some stuff up there that I think if you donate a certain thing, you'll get some pictures, you'll get phone calls, whatever the hell it is. We're going to help out and do what we can to please help John Paul. So GoFundMe, John Paul Shellnut, Shellnut spelled SHELLNUT. And I personally would appreciate the help. And one little tweet in the middle of the night garnered
couple $1,000 right away.
Right away. And that's you guys. So let's show the power of this show. Let's show the gratitude, and let's show the love to JP. And it would mean a lot to me. And I know that John Paul, he listens to this show the second that it drops, and he would love it as well. So that was a horrible segue to that. And, but I would really appreciate it.
No, he is a good dude, and I hope he kicks out and we get to go to Dan Tana's, and I try to hope for real life subtitles one more time.
There you go. We'll do it.
Let's get back to our silly stuff here with Eddie Guerrero and Batista. On the Raw homecoming, Batista and Eddie both participated in the attack by SmackDown on Raw. Footage on WWE.com showed them helping each other up the ramp, sort of hand in hand, arm in arm as partners. October 7th on SmackDown, Eddie comes out in a Batista shirt, and Michael Cole says many are believing Eddie's change of heart, but he personally isn't. And the week before, Eddie hit Batista with a chair when swinging at Eminem, and it looked like a legitimate accident, but in true Eddie form, he hands the chair to Joey Mercury by the time Batista turns around. Batista confronts Eddie and implies he may have done it on purpose, and Eddie looks genuinely hurt by this comment. No more suspicious facials. His expression is more like a man who's really had his heart broken by this comment, and they've got really great close-up shots of Eddie's facials. They're just money. You have to realize at this point, man, Eddie's leveled it up. It's not just a great in-ring performer. He's a sports entertainer now, because he's telling quite the story here.
Always was a sports entertainer and always understood how to tell that story. And Eddie could tell you a story without having to say a word. Eddie got that, and he was an absolute master at it his entire career.
Eddie's out first. He gets a big baby face pop from the Texas crowd, and he revels in it while continuing the story with his great facials. It's a cool little goosebump moment, especially in hindsight, knowing that he's in Texas. This is his last pay-per-view and it's his birthday. I highly recommend watching this show just for this storyline all the way through. Batista comes out, of course, to a big baby face reaction, and several times during the match, Guerrero is going to struggle with decisions about whether or not to cheat. One such choice is to use a steel chair to secure the victory, with Eddie eventually opting not to using it and losing it as a result. The spine buster's here, and that's all she wrote. So Batista, your world heavyweight champion, is going to retain in 18 minutes and 40 seconds, 3.25 stars. I got to tell you though, in losing, Eddie pushed Batista further than he had been pushed as champion. And he also proved his word. He lost, but he still gets his fix for his newfound addiction for honor and respect. And the two shake hands, and No Mercy goes off the air with a little hint in Eddie's eyes that he still might turn on Batista. What'd you think of the match? I love the story, and I enjoyed Eddie's performance here.
Well, let me tell you a story about being in the audience for the introductions. We did the face-to-face, and I was sitting in what we call the hard camera section. I like to go out into the audience sometimes and just sit unrecognized and listen to the audience. While I was sitting in an empty seat, and there were people around me, didn't know who I was or anything else, and you got Eddie and Batista face to face, and there were two guys sitting directly behind me who were talking about, okay, and the one guy was a big fan. The other guy, Mets may have been the first time that he had ever been to a live event. And the one guy says, he goes, wait a minute. He goes, you mean to tell me that little guy, referring to Eddie, was a heavyweight champion? And he's going to face that big bastard there that's a heavyweight champion? He goes, how? He goes, well, and the other guy, who obviously was well-schooled in the business, says, yeah, he says, well, in real life, that little guy would kill that big guy in a real fight. So Eddie Guerrero was one of those performers, and as a human being, that the audience member felt he was real and Eddie felt. When Eddie walked into the ring, Eddie was 10 feet tall and 300 pounds and was a killer. So Eddie exuded that kind of confidence and exuded that walk and that charisma that people believed in Eddie Guerrero, to the point that, yeah, this guy was like, man, if this was real, Eddie Guerrero would kill that big bastard. Whether he would or not, that's what this guy felt. And I thought that was magical and kind of summed up Eddie Guerrero to a T.
He wrestled his last match on the November 11th SmackDown, defeating Mr. Kennedy by DQ using his signature lie, cheat, and steal tactics, which allowed him to advance to the SmackDown Survivor Series team. And we know, unfortunately, we lost him on November 13th in Minneapolis, Minnesota, from acute heart failure. We're going to talk a lot about this coming up next month on November 13th, but I enjoyed taking a look at some of his best work here. I thought he was off the charts as a character here in October of 2005. And, overall, I enjoyed it just because I got to look back at it, I don't know, with a fresh set of eyes, with the context of knowing this is going to be Eddie's last pay-per-view. But this event, No Mercy 05, did receive a lot of criticism in the wrestling media. A lot of people were not giving it a lot of high praise. What did you think of this show? You watched it back this week for the first time in 15 years. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
I thought it was a good show. I think that going back and watching it, it was good overall. When you're talking about it, I would have to say it was average for the time period and everything, but it was a solid, good show. Was it extraordinary? It was kind of a intermediary, and it was something that, you know, it wasn't this, oh my God, it wasn't a Hell in a Cell thing. It wasn't over the top, but it was solid and it was good.
Let's get to a few questions. We got tons of questions. There's no ways we'll get to them all. A friend of the show, Joel Wood, wants to know, I'd heard rumors around this time that Eddie was scheduled to win the world title sometime between this show and the day he passed. Of course, we're going to talk about that a lot more later, I'm sure, but was there a plan for another run here, or at that point was Eddie more of a character more so than a champion?
I think that there was talk of Eddie possibly capturing the championship between then and WrestleMania. It was talk at that point. There was no decision or anything set in stone that we were looking at Eddie winning on a certain date or a certain event, but there was definitely talk of it.
Arguck the Butcher wants to know how many caskets have been used for the Undertaker since his debut, and did Taker keep any of them? You and I know the warehouse has what feels like dozens. But yeah, that is kind of a fun question. I wonder how much you spent over the years at Caskets R Us.
Quite a bit. You know, in the beginning, when you had to have a license to even get a casket, that was tricky. And then when I think it's Costco actually got to the point where you could buy caskets, but you still, like, you couldn't buy 10, you could buy your casket. And we were able to, at that point, you know, come on, it's Hollywood, and Hollywood built their own caskets. We just got to the point where they would sell you wholesale caskets, a bunch of caskets if you needed them.
Fernando wants to know, does Bruce prefer heel Eddie Guerrero or babyface Eddie Guerrero?
Didn't matter to me. They were one and the same because they were both so fucking good. And I think you loved Eddie all the way through. So there wasn't much difference other than just skewing one way and who his opponent was at the time.
Dro asks, Shawn Michaels said in an interview that for the following WrestleMania, he was lobbying hard for an Eddie Shawn WrestleMania match. That would obviously would have been a great match. Do you remember that being kicked around as a possibility?
It was kicked around as a possibility because they had never worked together. And that was at least in my head, a dream match. That was one of those that I definitely would love to have seen.
Matt wants to know, would Bruce often bring his family to shows when they were in his hometown of Houston, Texas?
Yeah. If it was close. I have a weird thing on that. I like to keep business and family separate. However, they're fans too, and they like to come, and in the hometown. Yes. I would bring them around, but I'm just so old school that I like to keep things separate. And when my family's there, I'm worried about them. I don't want to be worried about them and have to do my job too. Not so much anymore, but when it was kids in there, I'm a worrywart.
Last one. Corey wants to know all the details about singing Happy Birthday to Eddie that night. Corey was in attendance and found this fun and a little odd, maybe rare to kind of break kayfabe like this, but immediately after the pay-per-view feed is done for the live crowd, we get to sing Happy Birthday to Eddie Guerrero. Whose idea is this, and what do you remember about it?
I think it was Vince's idea, just in general, that, what if we did this? And it was unexpected. Eddie didn't know, obviously. And it was just a fun thing to do for a performer like that, to have all of his peers acknowledge him and come out and have fun with a happy birthday is a nice thing to do.
I really had fun with this episode. I'm looking forward to next week too. We've had a great time here on Something to Wrestle, but next week I am going to be in my feels. We're talking about the October 13th, 1990 episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. I love these old Saturday Night Main Event episodes. This one's no different. It's from Toledo, Ohio. Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper are going to be your hosts. The theme of this show is Oktoberfest. We get Demolition against the Legion of Doom and the Road Warrior. We get Macho King Randy Savage with Queen Sherry Rhodes taking on Dusty Rhodes. This is just great stuff, man. How about Tugboat and Hulk Hogan on one side, Rhythm and Blues on the other, Haku versus Texas Tornado, Coco Beware versus Sergeant Slaughter. This is great stuff. I love 1990. Can't wait to talk about this with you next week. What do you think we'll touch on next week when we cover this show?
We're going to cover the whole goddamn thing, Connie.
Well, goddamn, I thought maybe you had a fun insight or some way to send us out of here, but I guess you got to go.
But see, here's the thing, man, is you got to listen for the insight. I'm going to give you insight.
You ain't got to get hot about it. Hey, let me ask you this.
What do you want to hear about?
Your mom. When we hang up, when we're
My
done,
mom's dead.
Well, maybe you could get your flux capacitor out and go back in time to the future. You see, you're going back to the future with your 1.21 gigawatts. Are you going to go work on your flux capacitor when this is over? Or are you going to go work on SmackDown?
That's a hard one. I don't know. What do you want to hear about next week specifically?
I want to hear that you're going to be able to record on Wednesday. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, no guarantees.
Am I going to win an award when this is all over for being the most flexible person in the history of podcasting?
You're pretty goddamn flexible. Bless your heart. As busy as you are and what have you. When I say, hey, we can do it on this date. And then 3 hours before I say, hey, I can't do it. And you're like, okay, when can you do it? I really don't know. I've got like an hour and a half here and we make it work.
We did. And today was a fun episode and I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Of course, you get all these shows early and ad free over at adfreeshows.com. There's lots of great fun stuff coming, including, video that you're going to want to see. Bruce, I haven't even told you what I've got lined up, but it's going to involve me doing a little bit of traveling and I can't wait to tell you about it. You don't want to miss it. It's coming up very, very soon over at adfreeshows.com. He is at Bruce Prichard. I am at Hey, it's Conrad. We are at Prichard Show on Twitter. But right now we're out of time. We'll see you next week for a Saturday night's main event from October 1990, right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Help out our friend John Paul Shelnut at GoFundMe.com. John Paul Shelnut. We appreciate it. We love you. And thank you. And what am I doing now? I'm doing Shaka Khan, or am I doing, what the fuck am I doing?
You did like days? A lame ass Rock On. Don't do that.
That's, you know why? Because that's a John Paul Shelnut thing. So
wait, hang
Rock on.
Wait, since we're talking about Rock, we should at least acknowledge, man, we lost one of the all-time greats, Eddie Van Halen. It's the background on my phone. You've had a lot of fun singing dumb shit over the years here on the show, but my goodness, Eddie Van Halen, dude, 2020 really sucks a dick. Man,
I flew from Houston to Austin with Eddie Van Halen, Valerie Bertinelli, Sammy Hagar, Eddie's brother, on a Southwest Airlines flight. And all I could remember was, first of all, Eddie was fucked up out of his mind, but so goddamn nice. Valerie Bertinelli was as sweet as could be, and Sammy Hagar had the whitest teeth and the tannest tan. And actually, every one of them were great. I mean, they made the flight a party. They were cool as shit in the gate area before we got on. They were cool as shit on the plane. And they're saying goodbye to everybody on the plane as they're getting off. And it's my only encounter with Eddie Van Halen in real life. And I thought he was cool as shit.
Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen, one of the all-time greats. And I hope you...
Eddie, rock on.
Okay, I'll take it. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.